Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on an exploration into one of the most critical technological races happening right now.
Yeah, the global competition in AI and robotics, it's moving incredibly fast.
Absolutely. And nations are really vying for that top spot. Our focus today is on a, let's say, pretty intriguing claim from policy analyst James Pethokoukis.
Ah, yes, Pethokoukis.
He basically posits that while China is pretty much set to lead in robotics, America will actually keep its edge in artificial intelligence.
It's a fascinating split prediction, isn't it?
It is. So, for you listening, our mission is to unpack this view, see how it holds up against, the different sources we've looked at.
Right, and figure out what this tells us about where these two tech giants are actually heading.
Exactly.
And to do that, we've gathered quite a mix of materials, analyses, government reports, discussions with experts, people really involved in this tech rivalry.
So not just headlines.
Definitely not. The goal is to distill the core insights, maybe challenge some assumptions, and help you get a handle on the deeper implications of all this. What's really at stake?
Okay, let's start there. Let's dig into Pethokoukis' first point.
Yeah.
China's potential dominance in humanoid robotics. He makes that comparison to China's surge in electric vehicles.
Yeah, the EV comparison. It's quite a statement.
It really is.
Yeah.
So what do our sources actually show? Is there strong evidence for China pulling ahead in robotics?
Well, the case is pretty compelling when you look at the details. The sources paint a very clear picture of China's strategic advantages.
Such as?
First off, their government goals. They're incredibly ambitious. China has explicitly said they want to be the world leader in humanoid robots by 2027.
That's soon.
Very soon. And it's not just talk. It's backed by serious financial muscle, a very specific state-driven approach. We're talking about a new $138 billion state venture fund.
Wow, $138 billion.
And it's specifically aimed at what they call embodied AI.
Okay, embodied AI. That sounds important. What exactly does that mean in this context? Why focus on that?
Good question. Embodied AI is essentially about putting the brains, the AI, directly into a physical body, the robot.
So it can interact with the real world.
Exactly, like how a child learns by exploring. It lets the robots learn and solve problems in the messy physical world, not just in a controlled lab.
Okay.
And the funding level, plus this specific focus, it really highlights China's unique innovation strategy. It's very top-down, centrally planned.
Which lets them move capital fast.
Extremely fast, and at a scale that's frankly hard for market-driven economies to match. It's a different model, allowing for these big, long-term strategic plays.
And that brings us back to the EV comparison. You mentioned American bank analysts.
That's right. They predict humanoid robots could be the next EV industry for China, mirroring how they came to dominate global EV production, something like 70% now.
So it's potentially a proven playbook for them.
It could be. And then there's the cost factor. That's huge.
Oh, so?
Robots built locally in China are projected to cost less than half, maybe even significantly less than those made elsewhere.
Less than half. That dramatically lowers the barrier for adoption, surely.
Massively. For mass adoption, for scaling up production, cost is king. But maybe the most profound advantage is the environment itself.
The environment, you mean like factories?
Precisely. China has a vast number of factories. These aren't just production sites. They're real-world learning labs for robots.
So the robots get trained on actual tasks.
Yeah.
With real data in real time.
Exactly. They can iterate incredibly quickly, much faster than you could in a sterile lab environment.
That sounds like a massive accelerator. Do we have any examples of how that works in practice?
We do. One source mentions a sales director from a Chinese robot startup. He said a problem that might take a month to sort out in the lab, they can often solve it in just days inside a real factory. That feedback loop is just invaluable.
Days versus a month. That's incredible efficiency.
It really is. And you see companies like UBG actively training their Walker-S robots right now. They're teaching them to sort auto parts with plans to deliver thousands to Foxconn.
Thousands to Foxconn.
And it gets even more advanced. There's this Foxconn dark factory. They call it Shy. It runs 247, makes a smartphone every second.
With no humans.
Zero human intervention on the line. It's already happening. It shows the capability and the potential for much wider integration.
But those examples and the scale.
Yeah.
It really drives the point home. And the numbers back this up, too.
Oh, absolutely. The stats are pretty stark. In 2023 alone, China installed, get this, 276,288 industrial robots.
Okay, wow. And the U.S.?
The U.S. installed 37,587 in the same year.
That's a huge difference.
Massive. And look at robot density. That's robots per 10,000 workers. China's density doubled between 2019 and 2023.
Double in 4 years. That suggests a fundamental shift, not just gradual growth.
Exactly. It's changing their industrial landscape. And remember, it's not just the robot bodies, the hardware, it's the intelligence inside them.
Right, the AI component.
NVIDIA's CEO, Jensen Huang, he predicted that the ChatGPT moment for general robotics is just around the corner. Meaning the physical robot bodies are finally getting sophisticated enough AI brains to match their potential capabilities. The hardware and software are converging.
Okay, so putting all that together, the government push, the massive funding, the cost advantage, the real-world training grounds, the sheer numbers, it really does build a strong case for Pethokoukis' view on China's robotics lead.
It's a very tangible manufacturing-first strategy, and the evidence seems to support it quite strongly.
All right, so that's the robotics side. Compelling case for China's momentum there. But Pethokoukis' argument has two parts.
Right, the other side is AI leadership.
Exactly. If China is set to lead in robots, why does Pethokoukis believe America will maintain its edge in AI? What are the U.S. strengths here, according to our sources?
It's definitely a different strategic path for the U.S., but potentially just as impactful. One huge factor, historically, is America's ability to attract top global talent.
The brain magnet effect.
Precisely. Sources suggest around half, about 50% of the current AI experts working in U.S. universities and industry were actually born outside the U.S.
Half. That's remarkable. That global pool is a massive asset.
Enormous, and very difficult for others to replicate quickly. It brings diverse perspectives, different approaches to problem solving.
How does the U.S. keep attracting that talent, especially with global competition heating up?
Well, it's a mix of things, isn't it? Academic freedom plays a role, the quality of research institutions, a certain culture of innovation. It's complex and constantly needs nurturing.
Sure. Beyond talent, what else defines the U.S. approach?
There's a strong emphasis on public-private partnerships. The government prioritizes these collaborations to speed up AI breakthroughs and, crucially, get them into practical applications.
So bridging the gap between research and real-world use.
Exactly. A key example mentioned is the CHES and Science Act of 2022.
Right, that got a lot of attention.
It's seen as a generational opportunity to boost U.S. semiconductor manufacturing and R&D, especially in critical emerging tech like AI. It really underlined how vital microelectronics are for AI leadership.
So it's about building that foundational hardware capability domestically.
Yes, but also fostering the whole ecosystem. The idea isn't just government doing the research, but creating an environment where government and industry work together, share resources, push things forward faster.
So ecosystem building versus direct state control, perhaps.
Sort of. And there's more specific planning, too.
Yeah.
The National Artificial Intelligence Research and Development Strategic Plan, the 2023 update, lays out federal investments.
What areas does that cover?
It covers fundamental AI research, but also responsible AI, human AI collaboration, ethics, safety, workforce development. It's quite broad, trying to build a robust and, importantly, responsible foundation.
Okay. But what about China's AI efforts? We mentioned their big funding push. Are they facing challenges that might slow them down despite the investment?
They absolutely are. Yes, they're aiming for that $100 billion AI industry by 2030, and they have that huge $138 billion fund for embodied intelligence. But they face real bottlenecks.
Like what?
Talent shortages are one, especially in highly specialized, cutting-edge AI research fields. They're working on it, but there's a gap.
Okay.
And maybe more critically, there's still a dependence on foreign high-end chips, the really advanced semiconductors needed for complex AI.
The semiconductor choke point.
Exactly. They are pouring resources into building their own sanction-resistant semiconductor supply chain, but that's a monumental long-term challenge.
So the insight there is that even with massive hardware investment, the most advanced AI brains still rely heavily on global supply chains and talent pools, where the U.S. currently has a significant edge.
That seems to be the dynamic. The U.S. approach, focusing on global talent in these collaborative frameworks, offers a distinct advantage in the core AI sphere, even while China makes huge strides in robotics, hardware, and manufacturing integration.
Two very different models for tech leadership, playing to different strengths. Fascinating. But this whole discussion, AI and robotics, it's never really simple, is it? Once you dive into the sources, all these nuances and complexities start to emerge. Other viewpoints challenge it.
Oh, absolutely. It gets really interesting when you look beyond the main race narrative. Some sources, for instance, actually critique Pethokoukis' analysis directly.
Oh, way. In what way?
Well, some suggest his views might rely a bit too much on vague grand narratives or maybe lack deep scientific or technological competency in some specific areas. His strong focus on deregulation, for example, some argue it's under-theorized. And given his affiliation with the American Enterprise Institute, some commentators frame him as a conservative futurist, maybe even a propagandist, pushing for things like anti-environmental deregulation.
So understanding the analyst's perspective and potential biases is key.
Crucial. Especially with such a transformative topic, it's as important as the data itself sometimes.
That definitely leads into the big debate about regulation's role, doesn't it? Pethokoukis argues it's been a major drag on innovation, pointing to things like the precautionary principle.
Right. He links it to what he calls the great downshift in innovation since the early 70s.
Can you just quickly explain the precautionary principle for us?
Sure. Basically, it says, if an action or policy might cause serious harm, even if there's scientific uncertainty, the burden of proof that it's not harmful falls on those proposing the action.
Kind of a better safe than sorry approach.
Exactly. Pethokoukis argues this principle stifles progress by making it too hard to deploy new tech. But the counterarguments are strong.
Which are?
That regulations are vital for safety. Think environmental protection or managing the risks of, say, gain-of-function research.
That's research-enhancing pathogens, right? High-risk stuff.
Extremely high risk. It needs incredibly strict oversight. And look at the unintended consequences we've already seen from rapid digital growth, election interference, scams, misinformation.
Yeah, plenty of examples there.
Many argue these things show the need for more thoughtful regulation, not less. The challenge isn't whether to regulate AI, but how. How do you protect society without killing the innovation you need?
It's a really fine line to walk.
A real tightrope. And as one source starkly put it, every regulation is put in place for a reason, and that reason is usually tragic. That kind of sticks with you.
Yeah, it does. Okay, beyond regulation, what about how we even perceive innovation? You know, we often think flying cars, Star Trek replicators.
Right, the flashy stuff. But some experts argue that really profound innovation is happening now. It's just maybe less visually dramatic.
Like what?
Think about mRNA vaccines. Developed incredibly quickly, huge impact, or some of the groundbreaking cancer treatments coming online.
Game changers, definitely. Just maybe not as sci-fi.
Exactly. These are fundamental breakthroughs transforming lives, even if they aren't a robot butler bringing you coffee. The insight is recognizing innovation isn't just gadgets, it's often deep scientific progress.
That's a great point. But then other sources raise concerns about corporate behavior, about hyper-financialization, that maybe the focus on short-term profits hurts long-term R&D.
Yes, that's a significant concern. Hyper-financialization, this trend, where companies prioritize boosting the next quarter's earnings, maybe through stock buybacks or high CEO pay.
Over-investing in risky long-term research.
Potentially, yes. The argument is that it can divert resources away from the foundational innovation Pethokoukis himself champions. You see some disconnects, too, like AI productivity gains. You hear figures like 30% thrown around.
Yeah, that number gets quoted a lot.
But the actual observed gains right now in sectors like finance, they seem closer to maybe 5 or 6%, according to some analyses.
So a gap between the hype and the immediate reality.
Possibly.
Right.
And there's another related concern, resource allocation within AI itself.
Meaning?
Well, there's such an intense focus, a real fire hose of resources going into generative AI right now.
Like ChatGPT and similar models.
Exactly. The worry is that this might inadvertently starve other promising AI approaches. Different methods that could lead to equally valuable, but perhaps different kinds of breakthroughs if they got similar funding and attention.
So the way we allocate our innovation bets matters hugely.
Critically. And current corporate incentives might not always lead to the optimal long-term allocation for society.
Fascinating. Now, stepping back even further, how do these tech races connect with broader global issues, like inequality?
That's a huge piece of the puzzle. You can't ignore the massive global disparities. Basic things like reliable broadband internet or even consistent electricity.
Things we take for granted in many places.
Exactly. Lack of access severely limits how developing nations can possibly leverage AI, even if the technology itself becomes cheaper. It threatens to widen the digital divide dramatically.
So access is fundamental.
Absolutely. And then there are the really deep questions about wealth distribution. If advanced robots and AI do end up replacing large amounts of human labor, what happens then?
The big economic disruption question.
Right. Does it lead to some dystopian future where only a tiny elite benefits and consumes? Or can we figure out new economic models, things like universal basic income, or other ways to ensure broader prosperity? These aren't just academic questions anymore.
They feel increasingly urgent. Okay, one last area. Let's circle back quickly to China's governance model. We said its centralized nature helps in robotics. What are the potential downsides or challenges highlighted in the sources?
Well, that top-down control definitely allows impressive long-term planning and resource mobilization. They can absorb short-term losses for strategic gains.
A clear advantage in some way.
For sure. But it comes with challenges. Sources point to things like significant hidden debt in companies like BYD, for example, or the ongoing troubles in their real estate sector. These could pose systemic risks.
And demographic challenges, too.
Yes, the rapidly aging population is a major long-term headwind for them. And then there's the nature of the authoritarian system itself.
How does that impact innovation?
The argument some make is that limitations on individual freedoms, on open debate, could ultimately stifle the kind of spontaneous, bottom-up creativity and innovation that often thrives in more open societies.
So every system has its trade-offs.
Exactly. Whether it's China's centralized model or the U.S.'s more market-driven, partnership-focused approach, each has unique strengths and vulnerabilities in this global innovation contest.
So when you pull it all together, this isn't just a simple tech race at all. It's incredibly complex, deeply tied into our values, economic systems, how we regulate, and issues of global fairness.
The really dynamic and multifaceted challenge.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, it's really clear, isn't it? The future of AI and robotics, it's not just some straightforward technological race between the U.S. and China.
Not at all. It's this incredibly complex interplay innovation, yes, but also regulation, ethics, societal impact. It's all woven together.
And understanding those intricate dynamics, getting beyond the simple headlines, feels pretty crucial.
It really is. For anyone trying to be genuinely informed about the future we're all building, you have to look at these layers. These technologies will reshape pretty much everything.
From global power down to our daily routines.
Exactly. And the decisions being made right now by governments, by companies, by researchers, they'll have consequences for a long, long time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into this truly fascinating world of AI, robotics, and geopolitics.
Thanks for the discussion.
We really hope you, our listeners, continue to explore these critical topics. There's always more to learn.